Hey there, welcome to the DFS build. I'm Kevin Roberts, going to go over a fantasy football mock draft for the 2024 season from the second spot. I've already put out some videos from the number one overall spot, from the 12th pick and the 11th pick. I feel like these are kind of the most controversial spots for people, not just because they're not sure who they want to pick, but also they don't know how to proceed after that. Like, obviously, in the first pick, I think Christian McCaffrey is still a home run and the consensus favorite for a reason. But then where do you go from here? So you can check out that video to kind of see my thought process, how I roster build when I do drafts, and exactly how to do that with the number one overall pick. So I'm doing the mock at Fantasy Pros. You're going up against real live people when you're mocking your draft there. And then obviously you can use their consensus rankings and just kind of map everything out pretty nicely. I got a few minutes here before we actually get fully started, but they fill up pretty quickly, and then the mock just starts going. So I wanted to start the video before that actually officially happened. So from the second spot, you have a chance at Christian McCaffrey because people will get a little bit too cute in drafts. He's got like the little hammy issue, and there's a lot of things not going right with 49ers. Obviously, Trent Williams is holding out. Brandon Ayuk is holding out. So sure, the things could be going wrong finally for San Francisco, and then C-Mac is just a total bust. He's 28 years old and all that stuff, but here's the deal. He is still running in one of the best systems, perhaps the best system in the NFL. He's running behind one of the best offensive lines in the NFL, as long as Trent Williams is there, which I imagine he will be. And he himself is a stud with a massive role. They also just lost Eli Mitchell. He went on IR, so it's just Jordan Mason behind him at the moment, basically. So there's really no fear of McCaffrey failing at that top spot. So I would take him number one overall, and if he falls to me number two, it's an easy pick. Beyond McCaffrey, we're looking at Breece Hall and Bijan Robinson because running back is extremely top heavy. I'm not a big believer in the zero running back theory. I think you can get by on it if these top studs go down and get hurt. But the reality is taking one of these top guys gives you a shot at 20 plus fantasy points every single week and just gives you a monster edge against the rest of the competition. This is full PPR. This is 12 teams, so it's all pretty standard. This is how a lot of leagues are set up. I do understand a lot of leagues are gravitating towards no kicker, no defense, and also doing super flex. Have not done a draft like that just yet, just so I can continue to cater to the people out there that are drafting more traditional and just to get an overall general sense of where your head should be at with your roster. Otherwise, we're just going after going quarterback heavy right away, and that's just not how everybody drafts. Okay, so first pick was CeeDee Lamb in a PPR league. Obviously, there's nothing wrong with that, especially since he just got his contract deal. And of course, at the number two slot, whether Christian McCaffrey is there or not, he is though, so I'm going to grab him. Whether he's there or not, you can entertain running back or wide receiver. I don't have a problem with going wide receiver. There's merit to it. It's a full PPR league. The top wide receivers are obviously disgustingly good. You have CeeDee, you have Amon-Ra St. Brown, you have Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase. So just a Tyreek Hill, obviously. A lot of really good options that are pretty safe. I guess they're technically safer than a stud running back would be. I just think you have a lot of different opportunities within your lineup to target many wide receivers that could do well, whereas usually you're going to probably devote maybe 2 slots to running back, and having that one crazy good running back can give you a weekly edge. So McCaffrey's not always going to be there. If he is not there, well, if he is there, I'm taking him. Okay, McCaffrey's the best offensive weapon in fantasy football. At the running back position, he had 101 more fantasy points last year than any other running back. He catches the ball, he scores touchdowns, he gets heavy workload. I mean, everything looks good for him. If he's not there, what do? I was hoping I'd be able to illustrate that live here, but that just wasn't the case. And honestly, that is how some drafts will go. There's so many good wide receivers that somebody might reach for CeeDee or Tyreek or somebody. And there's 2 other very viable pivots off of C-Mac in Bijan Robinson and Breece Hall. Of the 2, I think Breece Hall is the safer play. He had the second most catches in the league last year. They're just going to ramp him up even more. He started the season slow, actually coming off of a torn ACL. So provided he doesn't tear his freaking ACL again, Breece Hall is in position to have a monster season. Obviously, he also gets his offense helped out quite a bit by the return of Aaron Rodgers. I know he's old, but he's looked good in training camp. And just the presence of a competent quarterback under center for the Jets should lift this offense quite a bit. So Brees Hall looks really, really good. Bijan Robinson is a smash play. I have no qualms with going pivoting from Brees Hall to Bijan. It's just a slight downgrade for me. I think one issue would be the presence of Kirk Cousins there. A little uncertainty with the torn Achilles, just like it would be for Rodgers. But more than that, I think the Falcons are going to throw the ball a lot. That doesn't mean they're not going to throw it to Bijan. Doesn't mean he's not going to get active near the goal line. I just think they have a couple more. They have one more weapon on their offense with Kyle Pitts and Drake London being there than the Jets do. So the Jets are basically Garrett Wilson and Brees Hall. So I think that actually is probably the biggest reason why I would go Brees over Bijan. But it's really not a situation where you're losing a lot of upside or floor. So I like them all quite a bit. All those three running backs are awesome. Those are guys I'm looking at the 1 and 2 spot for sure. Even obviously the 3 spot too. And I'll probably do a video on the 4th pick because I think, assuming the mock plays out that way, that is where it gets interesting when those top 3 running backs are gone. Then what do you do? And then you could get in a situation where 1 or 2 of them are gone, and then you could start entertaining the idea of going for a wide receiver. But the way I am building early in drafts, if I have a top 3 pick, I'm getting one of the really high-level running backs and making sure at least one running back slot is very much spoken for. And then you'll see here as we were coming back, turn isn't 5 picks. You're going to see that there are a lot of really good wide receivers that we can turn to, and then we won't feel quite as bad that we don't have, Tyreek or something. So let's see. Let's first go to our team. We got C-Mac. Nothing bad about that. Let's go look at wide receiver. Davante Adams, 49% of experts voting him as the best guy available here. Not really in agreement with that. Don't really trust Gardner Minshew. I think the Raiders are going to try to run a lot. The only upside would be, does he get traded at some point? That's been, a conversation that's been thrown around quite a bit during the offseason, so that's possible. And then obviously the Raiders, if they're just going to be behind a lot, maybe they just throw so much that he is really productive. Davante Adams he's very far from washed. He's still very good. I don't have a problem with Davante Adams. I just think there's more upside to be had elsewhere. I would have loved Drake London to slide to me. He got scooped up. So at this point now Adams is gone, so I don't even have to worry about that problem. So Chris Olave, very good wide receiver. Not a great situation. Don't trust the Saints at all. Dennis Allen is a buffoon, and I don't trust Derek Carr that well. He does a decent job at getting the ball to his wide receiver 1. So Olave is fine. I just think the upside is capped. Cooper Kupp looks really good. I think with him healthy, he is the top play for me here. And then I'm going to get another pick and 2 picks. And right away, I'm probably going to be looking at wide receivers again, but it's important to just bounce around and look at what's available at tight end. Sam Laporta, the consensus number 1 tight end, is still there. I prefer to wait on tight end just a bit, maybe round 5, round 6, depending on how the flow goes in the draft at tight end. I'd be targeting Trey McBride, Mark Andrews, Dalton Kincaid. It's kind of around there, which is pretty cool that you can go get a possible tight end 1, an overall tight end 1 in round 5 or round 6, instead of kind of reaching for Laporta or Kelsey in round 3. Obviously, back at wide receiver, I really like Jalen Waddle, and he's gone at this point. No problem with Mike Evans is fine, but he's getting old. I think the Buccaneers offense is going to take a little step back. Nico Collins is a stud, but Stephon Diggs is there now. Brandon Ayuk looks really good, but he's still got the holdout situation. We could go back and get a running back, and I actually am going to do that, and that's going to be Devin Achane just because the upside is obscene. And wide receiver is really, really deep. So this worked out pretty nicely. By the way, Josh Jacobs, he is ticking up just because the absence of A.J. Dillon and just basically only a rookie is being there. So there's still going to be other good running backs that you can get to, but I feel like that is starting to dwindle at this point, and wide receiver is going to remain pretty deep. We will see where it's at when it gets back to me again. Like all these guys, Mike Evans through Devontae Smith, are probably going to be gone, but all of them look really good if any of them are still there. DK Metcalf looks really good. Love him this year. I would imagine Malik Neighbors will be gone too. He's definitely a target of mine. Let's see. Sam Laporta is still there. He's not going to last to me in 18 picks. But if Sam Laporta somehow fell to round 4 and I could get him, that would be cool. Like that would be a situation where I don't see that as being very possible. But that would be a situation where best player available / crazy value that you just can't pass up, right? So that's kind of what was going through my head with HN there. round through, it's round 3. You're getting a guy who has RB1 overall upside. I mean, obviously he's competing for touches with Raheem Mostert, and the Miami offense, can pass quite a bit too. But he's so explosive, so efficient that I don't really care. I think getting him in round 3 as my RB2 is awesome. So the main focus at this point will probably be pivoting back to wide receiver, but I'm going to keep an eye on what is there at tight end. If Sam Laporta is there, I would take him gladly. If he's not there, I will continue to wait, probably around round 5 for my tight end. Wide receiver is where I'm starting to tilt back at. I don't think I need to reach for a third running back, even though I could slide him in my flex. I don't think I need to do that. And I also think at that point, unless you get there and Josh Jacobs is there, because he now has like a really high ceiling, him and maybe Ken Walker would be viable to go get 3 running backs. I just don't like to start with 3 running backs in my first 4 picks. I think we've already invested a lot of equity in the position, obviously with McCaffrey, or maybe it's Breece or Bijan at the number 2 slot. You're already paying big into that position. And then, Achane is just such a good value at the start of the 3rd round. So I think we're going wide receiver here for sure, as long as I like the guys that are there. Now, we haven't talked about quarterback yet. Hey, in your home league, you can absolutely just go get that stud quarterback and not worry about like getting extra value, because especially since home leagues often are 8 and 10 team leagues. In a deeper league, we're nailing those premium picks at the positions where we have more than one guy. I think it really is important to wait on quarterback. Obviously, Josh Allen, Jalen Hurts, Patrick Mahomes are very, very tempting. CJ Stroud looks like he could blow up this year after being pretty damn good as a rookie. If you want him, you got to take him early is the problem. And I'd rather just load up and get my running backs, wide receivers, and perhaps even tight end before I, really start considering taking my quarterback. That said, the ceiling for Anthony Richardson, Kyler Murray is really, really good. Looks like Anthony Richardson, you might have to take him pretty soon here, round 4 or round 5. I wouldn't be shocked if he is off the board in a few picks here. But honestly, there's so many good quarterback options. Look at coming down here to Jordan Love was a quarterback 5 last year. I expect him to take a mild step back just because it's hard to put up those kind of seasons 2 years in a row. And then we have Joe Burrow coming back. We got some good, talented rookies. We have hopefully a healthy season of Anthony Richardson. So it's when you start looking at things like that, it's not like Jordan Love is not capable of being quarterback 5, but I don't want to draft a guy every time based off of what he's done before. I also want to project a little bit and start drafting guys on their upside and their role and, what they can do. So speaking to the Kupp pick, by the way, Cooper Kupp was not healthy for much of last year. So that's like a classic mulligan, in my opinion. The emergence of Puka Nacua obviously can damage him slightly and limit his overall ceiling. But if you look at the splits, with Kupp and without Kupp, Puka is not nearly as exciting when Kupp is there. So Kupp's getting older. Obviously, there's always a chance he gets hurt again. But everything so far looks good for him to be a stud wide receiver 1 once again, and I'm fine with taking him at the end of the 2nd round in a 12-team league draft. So let's kick it back to wide receiver. I'm about to pick here, so it's probably where I'm at. Malik Nabers, that's my guy, and he's gone. 1 pick. I got sniped in a mock. Come on, man. So he would definitely be my guy there, and that makes this pick a little bit less exciting just because I really was hoping Nabers would last and gets me. He did not. Let's see. Sam Laporta is gone. Because of my position here, we can definitely consider grabbing a tight end. But I think what I'm going to do is take Rashee Rice at this price and hope that he doesn't get suspended. Obviously, it's certainly possible. Jordan Addison, I believe. Oh no, that might have been a rumor when I saw it, but he's also at risk of being suspended. Rashee Rice could be, but so far nothing has really come down as far as any NFL legit news suggesting that he's going to get any kind of suspension at least this year. So right now he seems like a really good value at the end of round 4. All right, 1 pick here. So any of these guys are fine. I have no problem with any of these available players. George Pickens has a nice ceiling with probably a quarterback upgrade with Pittsburgh. We can slide over to tight end just because we're basically at round 5 here. I think Mark Andrews and Kincaid look really good. I'm gonna wait and see if I can get Kincaid around later, and I'm gonna go grab Ken Walker just because I love his upside. So Ken Walker was a guy I was actually still eyeing in my previous slot when I was looking at Achane and not really thinking Achane was going to be there. But obviously Achane was the pick over Ken Walker. So getting Ken Walker with home run ability in round 5 is awesome. There's been nothing to suggest that he's going to lose a lot of touches to Zach Charbonnet on the Seahawks. It'd be nice if he caught more passes out of the backfield, absolutely. But he's going to have a reasonably big role. He's going to get goal line touches. And he just is a really explosive guy. So I want explosive dudes who have big roles. I think that's really all you can ask for. Not that Kupp is the most explosive guy in the world, but C-Mac, Achane, Rashee Rice, Ken Walker, all these guys are fast dudes who are going to get the ball a lot. Obviously, you have Xavier Worthy going over to KC. You have Hollywood Brown there, but Hollywood Brown's going to miss some time. And assuming Rashee Rice does not get suspended at any point, he has a crazy value at almost the 5th round. Let me get a drink of water as we prepare for the next slot here. 18 picks away, so we got a second. So, like I said, at this point, we just got to start surveying the land, man. You got to look around and see where are my weak points. I got some smash plays. Like, nobody here on this roster is a bad pick at this point. Honestly, they're all pretty good values. McCaffrey, not at the 1-1, is a value. I mean, you're getting a guy who should be the first pick, but instead you got him at 1.2. I would be ecstatic about that. You get Achane in round 3, which, I mean, Achane's upside kind of, counters the downside, really. I mean, Achane is a tiny dude. He had a lot of injuries as a rookie, but even though he had all those injuries and he missed time, let's see, where was he for the season? He was RB. He's actually pretty far down. RB 24, despite missing several games. He missed 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 games. And he was limited or didn't really play much in 2 others. So, I mean, crazy. Top 25 running back despite missing a really good chunk of the season. And if you look at just his average, he had the 5th best points per game average on the year for running backs. So you would imagine his role would increase to some degree. Obviously, you have Jalen Wright coming in there too. And Mostert is there. But why wouldn't you want to give this dude more touches? I don't think he's ever going to be a 25 touch guy ever, but 15 plus touches for Achane, whether it be running and receiving, just to get him in open space. Yeah, he's going to have a bigger role, and he's going to look really good. Now, obviously, Kupp speaks for himself. If he's healthy, that's a smash pick. Rashee Rice, as long as he's not suspended, that's a smash pick. Getting exposure to that KC offense, and he was pretty darn good as a rookie, even though he kind of came on a little bit late. And then, I like Ken Walker there too. All right, kicking it back over to wide receiver. And obviously, like I said before, this is about where I can start looking at tight end again. So because I went Ken Walker there, I didn't want to go that early at tight end with Ken Walker on the board. I missed out on Mark Andrews and Dalton Kincaid, which is a bit of a bummer, but I think we can get away with dropping down a little bit, and I'll probably target my tight end of the next round. I do see some guys that I still like. So like Kyle Pitts in the new system, Kirk Cousins has made tight ends look very, very good. They're going to pass more. And unlike when Arthur Smith was there, they're actually going to go after one of their best players. There's George Kittle, who is a great fantasy tight end, but only some of the time, very volatile. So you'll have to be able to stomach that. Evan Ingram is a PPR god, doesn't really score many touchdowns. But the departure of Kelvin Ridley might make him the safest option on the board, which it feels very weird to say. David Njoku. I don't trust Deshaun Watson, so I'm expecting David Njoku to step back a little bit. So if I was picking right now and Pitts was still on the board, he would be my preferred pick. I think at some point he's going to have to realize his potential. He's basically a wide receiver in a tight end's body, but as long as he's out there and Kirk Cousins is throwing passes, I think Pitts has a considerable ceiling. So all summer when I've been drafting, it's been McBride, Kincaid, and then Pitts for me for the most part. A few times Mark Andrews slipped, and I got Mark Andrews too, and I'm okay with that. I still like Mark Andrews quite a bit. But those are basically my main targets. I think if I can get Trey McBride at value, I'll do that. If I can't get Trey McBride, I'll settle for Dalton Kincaid, who I really like. And if they're both gone and Kyle Pitts is still there, then Kyle Pitts is the guy. If you want to wait even longer, I mean, Dallas Goedert is a pretty good value for a starting tight end in the Philly system. You could take a risk on TJ Hawkinson and just kind of get by for a few weeks until he comes back off the PUP list. But right now, the target is definitely going to be Kyle Pitts. Also, really like Jake Ferguson, nice touchdown upside, and he's probably the number 2 receiver at this point for a pass-happy Cowboys offense that apparently is relying on Dalvin Cook to resurrect and be good. He's mega washed, so Dallas isn't going to be able to run effectively, which means they're going to throw a lot. So if Pitts goes here and I get sniped again, then Jake Ferguson looks like a really good backup plan, just based off of the offense he's in. So Pitts is still there. Feel pretty good about that. So I'm going to grab Pitts right away. Then we're going to try to pivot back and look at what's still available at wide receiver. I really like Calvin Ridley. He's going to be one of the top wide receivers for the Titans. They're not going to be very good, but they're going to throw a ton, so he looks good. Rome Odunze I prefer over Keenan Allen. Keenan Allen could get a lot of targets in the slot, but he's old. He's had injury issues. He has weight concerns. So I am not very high on Keenan Allen. I don't really want to take Packers wide receivers this early. If I wait a little bit and I get somebody like Christian Watson or something, that's fine. But Jayden Reed, he's a very good player, and the offense should be explosive again. But it's a little bit tough to trust for sure. Xavier Worthy is a nice reach, but if I were to have Rashee Rice, I don't want to necessarily go that route. We go back to running back and see what's there. Nothing that really calls to me. Quarterback, we're starting to lose out on some guys, but I think I can still wait. So I think I am going to go get Calvin Ridley, Mr. Solid and reliable. Struggled with drops last year. It was his first year back after missing an entire season due to his gambling scandal. But he was still like wide receiver 17. So we know Ridley can get it done. He's still pretty explosive. He's a big-bodied guy who can, run all the routes, make all the catches. So I have no issues there. And DeAndre Hopkins is his competition for targets. But Nuke is already hurt. So I think Nuke is actually a pretty good value too. But I don't want to invest a pick in him really just because he's getting older. Ridley is there, and he's already not 100%. So Ridley looks like an unsexy pick, but in round 7, it's a smash pick for me. I think any of these other guys you can talk yourself into. They're all fine. They all have arguments for them. If I'd never Rashee Rice, Xavier Worthy at this point looks like a good value. I would rather target Christian Watson than Jayden Reed, though. I feel like Christian Watson has alpha capabilities. He just needs to stay healthy. I mean, I don't see a world where the Packers are not playing him over Dontavian Wicks or Romeo Doubs or even Jayden Reed, just because he's the most talented receiver they have. So I like Jayden Reed. If you want to draft Jayden Reed, that's fine. I just think Watson's going to be the better value, and I think he's going to end up being the top Packers wide receiver for the year. All right, so now we have 14 picks to go. Now we can kind of do whatever we want. We got our starting running backs. We have even a third running back. We got our starting wide receivers. We even have a third wide receiver. We have our tight end. I think as far as roster construction goes, I don't mind just going and getting more, high-level running backs and wide receivers. If you are not confident in Pitts, obviously you can fade Pitts and pivot to somebody like Jake Ferguson. Or now that you're seeing how this plays out, instead of taking Ken Walker at 5.02, you can go grab Dalton Kincaid or Mark Andrews instead. If I redid it, I might do that. But honestly, Ken Walker being there in round 5 is really hard for me to pass on. I just think I have monstrous running back depth at this point. And if he's my guy, if he's my flex in there every week, I have no problem with that. Ken Walker as a flex is amazing to me. And, Calvin Ridley's right there too, so you can just rotate them depending on how you feel. But I say that about Pitts because if you're a little bit shy about Pitts, you could go grab a second tight end just to feel a little bit better about it, just because he has been nicked up before. He is dealing with an old quarterback coming off of a torn Achilles. He does have to contest with Drake London and Bijan Robinson, but that Falcons offense is going to be good. They have the number 1 strength of schedule Very easy schedule, not a tough division. There's going to be a lot of smash spots for Kyle Pitts. So right now, wide receiver, I'm liking the value of Rome Odunze, Christian Watson. I prefer Odunze just because the Bears offense is going to be very, very good too. He's the better player, and he's safer because I mean we have 2 years of Christian Watson having a difficulty playing, getting on the field or staying on the field. But so I prefer Odunze. If he's gone and Watson is there, I will definitely consider him. Somebody's got to play wide receiver for the Chargers, so Ladd McConkey could be really good as a rookie. Jordan Addison's probably going to get suspended, but honestly, he looks like a really good value at this point in drafts. I love Brian Thomas Jr., so he is a guy I'll definitely be eyeing in the next couple of rounds. But Odunze or Watson would be the two that I might have to pick when my next picks come here. So we can also go over and look at running back. Really like Jonathan Brooks. He did go on the PUP. He's going to miss the first 4 games of the year. I don't really give a shit. I'm still going to draft Jonathan Brooks, especially with his ADP dropping. I could get him in round 8 at this point. I feel pretty good about that. I'm not drafting Jonathan Brooks to be anything for me in the first half of the year. I just want him to come back, win the job, and be a stud for the playoffs. So as my RB4, that feels really good if I can get there. So he's among the running backs. He's the first guy I'm looking at in this pile. Zach Moss, if you believe he's going to fully win the Bengals job, is a really good value right now too. I prefer Chase Brown, who you should be able to get later in drafts. I don't know if he's available or not still. Blake Corum, obviously, if you buy this Kyren Williams shit, where he's a punt returner all of a sudden now, Corum is going to, like, this ADP isn't going to hold. He's going to go flying up the board. So, okay, Jonathan Brooks is gone now. So you could reach, you could get Hubbard to kind of add some depth for the first half of the year with Jonathan Brooks out. But I don't think that is what I want to do at this point. I want high upside guys. Blake Corum is definitely the running back that I'd be eyeing at this point. Like I said, Moss is viable. I just kind of think Chase Brown is the better pick. At some point, we do want to get a quarterback. It's crazy how deep quarterback is. We are in round freaking 8. I'm 1 pick away. Still don't have a quarterback, and I could still get exactly the dude I want, and that is Jaden Daniels. I do want to say, though, you can keep waiting on quarterback. It's crazy deep this year. Tua was a top 10 quarterback last year, and he is still available. So Jaden Daniels is there. Very, very tempting. I do think he has a crazy ceiling. Loved Anthony Richardson in a similar way last year. Jaden Daniels has an elite rushing floor, big arm. He's still got Scary Terry there. He's got an okay offense around him. So Jaden Daniels is plenty viable. Let's just see who else is left here. But honestly, I'm going to keep waiting, though. Actually, I get to pick in 2 picks. So if he's still there, I might do that. You can go grab Brock Bowers to back up Pitts if you're not confident in Pitts. I don't really like rostering 2 tight ends. If Pitts fails for some reason, I'll swing a trade or grab the best available tight end off the waiver wire, most likely. Although grabbing Bowers is not like a bad play at all. Let's see, where was he? Blake Corum is down here still. So Blake Corum is a guy I would not mind reaching for at this point in the draft. Could still get my quarterback at Jaden Daniels right there. That might be what I do here. I will say, though, Trevor Lawrence, another amazing value. Kirk Cousins is risky, but he's a good value. Justin Herbert is a great value. I'm just going to keep waiting, actually. I think there is merit in both. I think the quarterback is so freaking deep, and it just depends. You got to hit it. Like, the guy you pick can look good, but he's still got to hit. But I think any of those guys can. I think I'm going to take another shot at a high upside wide receiver in Watson. So by doing that, I'm kind of protecting myself a little bit. If Kupp dies or Puka is just a god, and if Rashid gets suspended, oh no, I'm screwed. No, I'm not actually, because I have Kelvin Ridley, who absolutely has wide receiver 1 potential. I have Rome Odunze, who absolutely can be at least a wide receiver 2 as a rookie. And I have Christian Watson, who I feel is capable of being a wide receiver 1. But if they're not, then they're really good depth pieces. And if they are, I have insurance behind these other 2 guys. And honestly, at this point, the way we've built this thing out, we can do whatever we want, and we can keep waiting on quarterback depending on who is there. So Blake Corum at this point would be the next guy I'd be eyeing. You could grab Zach Charbonnet as a handcuff to Kenneth Walker. I don't really care about that much. Not as interested in Rico Dowdle as I was before now that Dalvin Cook is there. But none of these running backs really stand out except for Corum. I do think Nick Chubb is an okay flyer at this stage in your draft. He's also going to be on the pup. We have no idea when he's going to be back. Oh, somebody just took him, so it doesn't even matter. I think he's in play. He's fine. But you're betting on like a historic comeback. He shredded his knee completely. He's messed up his knees multiple times in his career now. So it doesn't look good. Jerome Ford looks like a smash pick if you land him in drafts. But he's long gone at this point, I'd imagine. Trey Benson is a high upside handcuff to James Conner. Didn't look amazing in preseason, but we know the talent is there. He's explosive, bruising rusher. So James Conner is ancient. He's like almost 30 years old. So if he breaks down or just loses it, Trey Benson looks like a smash play. So yeah, so right now I'm going Corum or Benson, just taking a chance on a high upside rookie at running back. If those guys are there, Corum's gone, so I can't do him. So Trey Benson would be the pick. We're losing interest in the running back room here, so we can kick it back over to wide receiver. I don't think I need to do a wide receiver, given that I have 5 at this point. But if nothing's there calling to you, you can go do something else. We have 3 bench spots left. I would probably be targeting one more wide receiver at this stage anyways. McConkey looks like he could be very interesting. Jameson Williams has monstrous upside as the official number 2. Khalil Shakir is a pretty good sleeper. That's probably my interest level for wide receiver right now. McConkey, Jameson Williams, Shakir. And Jameson Williams is probably the guy I would actually want out of that trio. Brock Bowers is still there. Go grab a backup tight end to Pitts if you do not feel comfortable with Pitts. Goddard is the safer play, but at this point, I want upside, and Bowers has it in spades. We can go get our quarterback. At this point, Purdy's fine. He's struggled in the preseason. He still has a great system, a lot of weapons around him, but honestly, a lot of unknown there. So do that if you want. He himself is not an elite talent. Okay, so that is something that gives me cause for pause when I'm drafting guys too. Tua has a great system around him. He's a better talent to me than Purdy, so I would prefer him, and he's a better value. Love Trevor Lawrence, love Justin Herbert. The foot issue with Herbert is concerning, but the value with Herbert is ridiculous. So I am still considering him. Let's go back and see. Can we get our running back that we wanted? No, of course not. And Jameson Williams and McConkey both are gone. Those are the guys I wanted the most. Jalen Wright is a nice high upside running back, though. Gotta make a pick. You know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go grab Bowers just because I want a little bit of upside. I don't mind drafting a tight end too if it makes sense. Bowers in almost round 11 as my backup to Pitts, who is a little bit shaky. Pitts is a crazy athlete with a big role in what should be a pass-heavy scheme. But to this point, has he delivered? No. So I do not mind at all taking a second tight end in that type of situation. If I had Kincaid or Trey McBride, or if I paid all the way up for Laporta, no chance do I want a backup tight end. I think it's a waste of a roster spot, assuming that guy is actually playing most of the time. Marshawn Lloyd does stand out. He's banged up, but he is now the second guy behind Josh Jacobs, who was not good last year. I think at this point he's the most logical pick, and he does have some upside. He gives me that 4th running back. At this point, at worst, I'm hopefully rotating Ken Walker into flex or behind McCaffrey or Achane. So Lloyd is just a nice 4th running back. Jalen Wright might be a guy that I end up looking at next time if he's still there. Ray Davis, also a good rookie who could be in for a good role. Braylon Allen, my goodness. Braylon Allen is very interesting. Love him as a late grab. And he might end up being a guy I get here because I do not think Jalen Wright and Ray Davis are going to be there. Really good player at Wisconsin. Looked awesome in the preseason. He's one Breece Hall injury away from being a league winner. So he's probably my target here. And Jalen Wright, I don't necessarily want to stock up on 2 Miami running backs, but Jalen Wright is a decent handcuff in case HN gets hurt. And Mostert has a really long injury history too. So Wright would probably be the guy I'm focusing on here. And then I don't really see monster upside for Davis, but he looks like he's going to have that old Latavius Murray role for the Bills. And if that is indeed true, he does have value. Go back to quarterback. Let's see how we're sitting. Still the same fucking guys. It's all the same dudes that have been there for like numerous rounds now. Herbert is still way down here. If Herbert is still there when I'm making this pick in 12 picks, I think just based off of upside, he is the guy I'd go with. I do like Tua quite a bit. Mild correlation with Achane, but I'm not really that worried about that anyways. Tua has top 10 upside. He's got a crazy good system, crazy amount of good weapons around him. T-Law is one of the best values in the draft. This is why I decided to say, screw it. I'm not taking Jaden Daniels in this mock. And I'm just going to show you what you can do by waiting on quarterback. But T-Law has been a top 10 quarterback. He still has Christian Kirk. He got Brian Thomas Jr. He has Evan Ingram. He has Travis Etienne. I mean, he has got a stacked team around him. Underrated coaching staff. I don't know why everybody needs to shit on Doug Peterson, but he's a good coach. So if Trevor Lawrence can just bounce back after an up and down 2023 season, I think he could be an awesome value. If you don't mind taking the risk on Kirk Cousins and his bum foot, I mean, that's a nice stack with Kyle Pitts. I got no problem with Kirk Cousins. The only thing is Herbert has the most upside here. Herbert has consistently proven he's a top 10 fantasy quarterback. The question is, where's that foot at? What's the status of that foot? Like, will he be able to be an impactful athlete and runner in this Greg Roman system? So the other thing about Greg Roman, people give him a lot of shit too. Dude produces solid offenses, actually, and he also produces solid fantasy quarterback seasons. Lamar, Josh Allen, Colin Kaepernick. I mean, everywhere he's gone, the offenses have done well. Just a real quick checkup to see if there's anything that's standing out that I might want to get. And like I said, I'm just going to let the draft come to me in the sense that I like all those quarterbacks. At this point, I think I prefer Justin Herbert, but I would be gladly rolling into this new season at this point with this roster with Herbert or Tua or Kirk or T-Law. So we'll just see what comes to me there. It's not always about get your guy. It doesn't have to be about that. It's about building the best possible roster. And so a quick recap as we wait. I got one more pick, and I'm assuming Herbert's going to be there. But we look at this team. I haven't drafted a quarterback yet, and it's allowed me to just stock up on dudes who have monster upside. Jalen Wright could end up being a total waste of a pick, but you know what he is? He is insurance on my third-round overall pick on Devin Achane. And, I mean, you could go with Ray Davis, who has a higher floor right now, and Braylon Allen, who's probably just as intriguing if Breece Hall got hurt. But based off of history, Wright is a pretty good pick and a good handcuff here. So we got these guys all there, taking my boy Justin Herbert. The risk would be new system, lost weapons from last year, hurt his foot, sucks. Very possible, but we also know he's got a cannon for an arm. He is an athletic and mobile guy. And it's not like he has nothing offensively. If they're healthy, Gus Edwards and J.K. Dobbins are solid running backs. Ladd McConkey, Josh Palmer, Quentin Johnston. While they're not Keenan Allen and Mike Williams, these guys are all talented in their own right. So I actually think Herbert is in an incredible value this year, and we'll just have to see. We'll have to see how it plays out. If you're not really sure about quarterback and you're waiting this long, this is one other thing I do suggest sometimes. Like if Jalen Wright wasn't there, for instance, and I didn't feel compelled to go get a fifth running back or another wide receiver, or if I didn't want to take Bowers, you can just grab two quarterbacks to end the draft, and that way you're kind of protecting yourself a little bit. And like I said, if you're down here and you're not sure who to take, all these guys are very similar, but I would roll with the guys who have the most upside. They're in the best systems. And obviously, if they have, rushing ability, that's a plus. So provided Herbert's foot is going to be, not a huge issue, he offers the most upside of those remaining guys. Trevor Lawrence would be second for me. And then you're looking at kind of statue-esque passers and Stafford, Cousins, and Rodgers, who honestly are fine. Like, they're not going to weigh you down. They all look pretty good. But like I said, you want upside, and Herbert is probably the guy that gets you, the highest ceiling potentially. All right, 2 more picks until I go. It's time to go get our defense and see what's left over. Miami Dolphins, Miami Dolphins are fine. But they put up a lot of points offensively, so teams have to compete and keep up with them, and that gets them in the shootout. So their defense, as far as the scoring defense, is not one that I feel really good about rostering. Oh man, the Eagles just went too. The Eagles would have been who I would have been targeting there for sure. Let's see. None of the defenses yet stand out. This might be a streaming situation. We could just also go over to kicker and just grab. I think I'm actually going to take kicker first, just because the defenses don't fully stand out, and I'll just let the board dictate that for me. I think the Saints are going to be terrible, so I don't want them. I think the Bears are going to be a lot better, so the Bears are in play, but they're still going to be a young learning team. Detroit Lions defense should be a little bit better, and we know that they're a good team, so they are probably the team I'd be targeting here. I think Houston's defense with Ryans leading the way as head coach should be better too. But that's another situation where they're going to put up so many points that teams are going to end up scoring on them. If you wanted to stream defenses, Cincinnati Bengals face the Patriots in week 1. So they are certainly an option too. I think the Lions are a fine pick here. Picking out of the 2 slot, you're going to not necessarily have the best pick when you're waiting that long for defense, and it's just probably going to be a streaming situation. I would either take the Lions, or I'd just say, fuck it, week 1, I'm going to play the Bengals, and hopefully, Patriots are as bad as they look. Obviously, Drake May looked pretty good actually in this last couple of games, but I would still imagine that they are solid streaming defense. Okay, so that does it for me. Got a B from Fantasy Pros. There was just this thing on Twitter about how these fantasy tool, like mock draft simulators and everything, when they put out their grades, they tend to be pretty accurate. I don't know how much stock you want to put on that, but I think anytime you get a passing grade, especially in the B to A range, you should feel pretty good about it. Pretty good about that, especially when we're waiting on quarterback all the way till the end of the draft. And we also waited till round 6 to get our tight end. But overall, we have really good depth. We have a really, really strong starting lineup. And the only blemish I would say is maybe the defense. I think the lines are fine. I don't have a problem with it. And like I said, you could just stream with the Bengals if you're not into it. All right, that's going to do it for me. Hopefully this helps you out. Hopefully it helps you see that you have a lot of really nice options up at the second spot to start the draft, and you don't have to, run into a situation where you can't build a really, really good lineup, even though you're waiting 20 whatever odd picks before you pick again. You just need to look for value. You need to look for upside, and you just need to kind of be on the fly and bouncing around and being adaptable. So you're filling out your starting lineup in a nice way, but not necessarily handcuffing yourself to the fact like, oh, I must go get my quarterback now. I would wait on quarterback really as long as you feel comfortable. And if you can wait on tight end until at least round 5, possibly round 6 or round 7, I think that is also another goal worth chasing after. All right, that's going to do it for me. If this helps you out in any way, give this video a like so I know that. Also consider subscribing to the channel. We do a lot of DFS stuff here mostly, and we're going to continue doing that. MLB, NBA, NFL. We're going to hit all that. So if you follow us on YouTube, you're going to get alerted for those future videos. All right, thanks for watching, and good luck this year.